Welcome back, family, and before we dive into this explosive update from Zimbabwe's political corridors, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video because what we are about to unpack is a serious shake-up in Zanu PF that could change the game completely. The whispers have turned into bold talk, the murmurs have turned into action, and it seems the Zanu PF Women's League is now openly setting its sights on ending the political reign of none other than Vice President Constantino Chiwenga. Yes, you heard that right. The same Chiwenga who has long been seen as untouchable, the kingmaker of 2017, the general who once stood as the iron fist behind Mnangagwa's rise to power, is now facing the heat from a faction within the ruling party that many underestimated, the Women's League. Now, let's break this down because at first glance some may dismiss this as internal party chatter, but those who know Zanu PF know that nothing inside this party is accidental. Every whisper, every move, every alliance has a purpose. And when the Women's League moves against you, it is never just about gender politics or small talk, it is about power. Remember, the Women's League has historically been one of the most influential arms of Zanu PF. It was the Women's League that played a pivotal role in endorsing Robert Mugabe for decades, it was the Women's League that propelled Grace Mugabe into the limelight, and it was the Women's League that became a battleground during the final years of Mugabe's reign. Now they have set their sights on Chiwenga, and this signals nothing less than an orchestrated push to cut his political journey short. Why Chiwenga? Why now? The answer lies in the growing factional battles that have once again gripped Zanu PF. Mnangagwa is clearly consolidating his hold on the party, and as we discussed in earlier developments, there are deep fears within his camp that Chiwenga still harbors ambitions to take over the presidency, perhaps as early as 2028. The so-called Gentleman's Agreement, where Mnangagwa was allegedly supposed to hand power to Chiwenga after 2 terms, seems to have been thrown out of the window. And Chiwenga, with his military backing and war veteran connections, remains the single biggest threat to Mnangagwa's dominance. So how do you weaken a man of Chiwenga's stature? You don't attack him head-on with guns and generals, you undermine his political base using the party's own structures. That's where the Women's League comes in. Chazotsva, the fire has started burning. The Women's League is now said to be mobilizing its members across provinces to openly oppose Chiwenga's continued role in the presidium. Publicly they frame it as renewal, as the need for fresh leadership, as the importance of putting forward leaders who respect women's voices and the grassroots. But politically, this is about cutting off Chiwenga's oxygen. The Women's League is one of the most powerful voting blocs at Zanu PF congresses. If they declare a person finished, then that person's path to the top narrows dangerously. And let's not forget the symbolism. Chiwenga represents the military establishment, the hard power that marched onto the streets in 2017. The Women's League represents the grassroots and the civilian power of the party. If they are now declaring war on him, it is a sign that Mnangagwa's camp is fully determined to isolate Chiwenga and portray him as unfit to lead the civilian face of Zanu PF. This is how factional battles are fought, not always with open confrontation, but with slow, calculated moves that eat away at your base until you stand alone. But of course, this is not without risk. Chiwenga is not a man who takes humiliation lightly. His political DNA is one of a fighter, a soldier who believes in loyalty, but also in discipline and respect. If the Women's League openly moves to erase his political future, you can be sure Chiwenga will not just sit quietly in the corner. This could trigger a bigger backlash, reigniting military-civilian tensions within Zanu PF. We must remember, Zimbabwe's politics has always been a delicate balance between the gun and the ballot, between the party and the barracks. If the Women's League becomes the spear to stab Chiwenga politically, the response from his allies could be fierce. The irony here is that once upon a time, Chiwenga was the enforcer, the one who ensured Mnangagwa's survival against Mugabe's G40 faction. He used his military influence to protect Mnangagwa and push him into State House. And now, the very structures he helped to defend are turning against him. History repeats itself in Zanu-PF, and the hunters often become the hunted. Today it is Chiwenga, tomorrow it could be someone else. But make no mistake, this is a defining moment for the vice president. If the Women's League succeeds in painting him as politically finished, then his chances of ever ascending to the presidency shrink dramatically. This move also speaks volumes about Mnangagwa's long-term game plan. For all his public smiles and calls for unity, Mnangagwa is a master tactician who knows that power is never given, it is always fought for. By allowing or even quietly encouraging the Women's League to target Chiwenga, Mnangagwa avoids being seen as directly attacking his deputy, but still gets the benefit of weakening him. It is classic politics, outsourcing the dirty work to a loyal wing of the party while keeping your own hands seemingly clean. But what about the ordinary Zimbabweans in all this? What does it mean for the people? Unfortunately, these factional wars often mean that the focus remains on who controls power, not on fixing the economy, not on creating jobs, not on solving the daily struggles of citizens. While the elites fight among themselves, inflation continues, the currency collapses, and public services remain broken. Yet inside Zanu-PF, the obsession is with who rises and who falls. And right now, all eyes are on whether Chiwenga will survive this coordinated attack from the Women's League. Family, this is where the drama truly heats up. Chiwenga may have the soldiers, but Mnangagwa and his allies have the party structures, the Women's League, the Youth League, and the state machinery. If all these arms of Zanu-PF unite against him, even the mighty general could find himself cornered. But do not write him off yet. Remember, politics in Zimbabwe is never straightforward. The same man they are trying to end has risen from the ashes before. The same general who helped end Mugabe's reign knows how to play the long game. So the question remains, will the Women's League succeed in ending Chiwenga's political reign, or will this just ignite another round of factional wars that could destabilize Zanu-PF from within? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain, the fire has already been lit. Chazotsva indeed, and the flames are spreading. What do you think, family? Is this the end of Chiwenga's political ambitions, or is it just the beginning of another dangerous chapter in Zanu-PF's endless succession battles? Drop your thoughts in the comments, don't forget to subscribe, and stay tuned because the story is far from over.